All right, it's Friday. So let's look at what we want to cover today. We're going to look a little bit at the last unit in mobile CSP here and talk about the end of the reflections here. And then we're going to give you some time to work on the assignment and talk about the assignment that's due this week. So, and again, if you're done with the assignment, you can, once we get to that point, you can just skip out of class then. But if not, you can work on it for the second half of class here. So I just want to bring up, so I've got the reflections open. Nope, we don't have them open anymore. So I'm going to open up the reflections. I'm going to talk a little bit about the last part of it. So we've been doing, again, we've been really looking at algorithms, procedures in this unit. So we did we did logo, where you worked a little bit more on logo, part 2 on your own. We did search algorithms and sorting. We talked about how it's so much easier to search if something is sorted or in order. You can just do binary search and kind of look in the middle. And so that's one of the reasons why we do a lot of sorting. And we looked at different ways of doing sorting. There's a bubble or insertion sort. And those ways are really slow, and there are much faster ways of doing sorting that people have. And then we worked on this quiz app during that first time. And then we add more stuff to the quiz app. And again, part of your assignment is you can make your own quiz app, and we'll talk about that today. We talked about kind of analyzing our algorithms and how fast they are. If you're sorting 100 things, or if you're sorting 10 things, how fast that? If you're sorting 100 things, or if you're sorting 1,000,000 things, how much longer does it take? If you double the number of things you're sorting, does it just double the amount of time it takes, or does it quadruple or make it 20 times harder or longer to sort or do something, or do an algorithm, depending on how much you have? So we talked a little bit last class about the limits of algorithms, that, some algorithms are really hard. They're basically impossible to, some things are impossible to calculate. We know that. But a lot of our problems are intractable, meaning that they can be solved, but it just takes so long that it's basically hard, almost impossible to do them, like guess a password, for example. So, we talked a little bit about parallel computing with last time. And today I'm going to talk about search and the internet and this blown the bits chapter a little bit. And because your reflections have that. At the end, we have this set of reflections on this. And this is getting a little old. And so I'm hoping to kind of update this, because this is talking just about search. And here's my question to you. How much do you use Google search now, and how much do you use AI? So again, when you do a Google search, right? Well, here, we were just Googling the words for Wordle here. So I can Google that, but the AI shows me one result, and then the search shows me other results here. How often are you just using AI, and how often do you use search these days? So when you're looking up some information.
Mainly AI, but then if it's something important, I'll click the link that this is when it highlights, and then there's like a button for the link.
Okay.
So I'll read more into the source.
Right, this one, yeah. Right, you read the source. Right, okay. How about the rest of you? What do you do? How do you do search?
up, I don't,
Uh-huh,
but like sometimes it'll just like pop up at the top. And
right,
like, hey, I suggest, and it'll have like a small little description.
Right.
I should just pass over that because like a lot of the times it's just giving me overall and I'm looking for something specific.
something specific, yeah, okay.
I use AI like what Google. It's a lot of grades and stuff.
Right, yes. So yes, you use it, but you use it with a grain of salt, knowing there might be issues with that. So, okay. Um, so, um, this is asking, how do web search tools make it more efficient to find information? And I'm assuming that you've always had Google, you've always been able to search the internet your whole life there. Because I certainly remember times before before Google, before we could search the internet there. So, so that's interesting. How do you, yeah, what do how do you think web search has changed how you handle information and do stuff? So I know it's one thing, my kids, who are now older than you, they grew up not thinking that a lot of stuff they didn't need to remember because they could always just Google it there. I remember trying to show my son how to change a tire, and he says, I'm not going to remember this. I'm just going to Google it if I get a flat and watch the video and do it then. Why do I need to know ahead of time how to change a tire? That was his philosophy there. So
Actually, like everybody just used everything for ourselves.
really,
So I grew up going to the library very often.
uh-huh. It's like, wow. Do you use search now? Yeah, yes. It's interesting. So, okay,
They were just like, grab a book,
right,
you know.
yeah,
And,
right,
this internet is for important people, they told us.
Ah,
it's for
right.
important people.
right.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and so when I came to America, I was in fifth grade. I didn't really understand any keyboards, so I saw other people use it, and I saw other people like use Google and everything,
Right.
but I didn't actually understand what it was.
Yeah.
It was like a magical screen that was popping up information.
Right.
In there. And then like in sixth grade and seventh grade, then I started using it more and more.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. So, um, so this talks about when you type in a word or phrase in Google Engine, what is the algorithm being used? And that is talked about in this chapter 4 here. But I just highlight, it is one of the most, well, they're talking about PageRank basically here, which is one of the best known algorithms, probably one of the algorithms that's made the most money ever for this. And I have to scroll down past all this stuff. Okay, first they talked about gathering information here. The first part of this is step 1. We have search engines index everything on the internet. So what they are doing is they have computers that are going around and visiting every web page, right? And grabbing every word on every web page and making an index of every word, and not just every word, but phrases. We won't get into that so much, but let's just say we're tracking every word on every web page out there and creating an index of that one. So, and again, we often call these spiders because we're talking about World Wide Web, and the software goes from website to website. And so spider was a funny name for the software tied to the web there. So we have these spiders finding all this, and then again, this talks about downloading and every page and looking at each page and counting up all the words that are on every page and stuff like that for this, building an index so that every word out there, we find it for this there, and then we do a query where we're just, again, we have this sorted list of every word and what page it's in, where we just do a query, find these words, find which pages have that word on it and display it there. Now the page rank is the most important stuff, is determine relevancy here. So which pages, so you're gonna find maybe 1,000 pages that have this word on it. Which ones do you put on your page? So here's a question to you. Do you ever go off of page 1 of Google? How often do you go off of page 1? So it brings up some results. Do you ever scroll down and say next? There. So some of you do, yeah, sometimes you do, but most of the time, if it's not on the first page, 90% of people or search results come from that first page of results here. So it's important that we put Google or place put things in, and companies do a lot of research to try to get their results on this first page. There's a whole industry on that. How do you get results on page 1 of a Google search here by understanding the page rank algorithms? So Google, the way, well, the original way was pretty straightforward. We would look at pages that, so if you had a page out there, Google would rank your page try to rank your page if it was important or not, by how many other people linked to it. So if your page had lots of links to it, it was thought to be important. So like Wikipedia, lots of people link to Wikipedia there. So it is ranked very high, where other websites might not be ranked because not so many people link to them there. Now Google started that way, and then people would just create whole thousands of web pages that just link to their web page to throw off this count. So Google has adapted that, and right now it's largely a secret how Google and websites like that determine relevance, but it's something like this page rank algorithm. It's somehow based on this page rank algorithm for this. So again, we're determining some ranking of this stuff. So again, when you're going to explain this, that's all you really have to do is say we search, we have software that goes visits every page on the internet there, and indexes all the words on every page. We create this index, we search them, and then we somehow rank the pages by their importance. So I'm going to grab this quote. I think this is interesting. I'm just going to grab this part of it. So this author is saying, in fact, the architecture of human knowledge has changed as a result of search. In a single decade, we've been liberated from information straitjackets that have been used since the dawn of recorded history. And so they're talking about how we can now search, and how that's changing how we see knowledge and work with knowledge. So now my question is AI changing what you think of as knowledge and that? Because certainly search is doing that. I mean, what do you think of as important knowledge, and what you need to remember has changed?
So I used ChatGPT the other day, and I said, I want to create a calorie tracker
Okay.
for you. And I told it to take what I input into it and keep track of it over days and make me a graph. So I found that data valuable because I input it and it just organized it.
Right. So yeah, so you can just enter that, and it would keep track of that. And so what did how did that change? I mean, so compared to, like, how would you have done it before AI?
Apps and people,
Yeah,
or I just want to use that, or I would like to put up the day.
yeah, maybe you'd write it down.
Yeah, and
There.
it's just-
But now this just made it easier. So one of the things is it just makes stuff like that easier to do. So we can have that. So how else, how else is, I mean, do you think AI is changing the way you think of knowledge or information? So,
I don't know, since it's so quick and since it just gathers the information so quick and you just grab it, we just automatically assume that that's true.
yeah,
And so then we're automatically assuming that this information that it's pulling, which could be from a website that's not
right.
right or ethical. And then it's like, here's the information. Then we're like in a hurry. So then we're like, okay, cool, this is the information. We plop it down and then we don't actually know the truth.
Yeah. And I mean, do you have friends like that? My wife often accuses me of making up information, but I think I only guess at information and I'm right some of the time. But I have friends who just make up information. I have an uncle who just spouts information out or random, and as if it were true, but isn't there. And I've known that. Um, so yeah, but there's also, I mean, one thing someone mentioned is that when you're doing this search, now you can check the citations, and I think that's very useful. The other day, I was doing something, and AI said quoted something, and I wasn't. I couldn't figure out. So I looked at the citation, and it wasn't. It put it in quotes, but it was actually paraphrasing and not quoting what was in that information. So,
What do you define as knowledge? Would you define knowledge as critical thinking ability, or would you define knowledge as knowing lots of facts?
yeah, that's a good question. Right.
Thinking of how you would think the source,
Right.
but if your goal is to have lots of facts,
Right.
that's great.
It's really good at
That's
facts.
what's kind of-
Yeah. It is getting, it is getting better at the critical thinking sort of stuff too, there in some ways. So that's
big.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, I was just, so it's interesting, like, I was just using I use ChatGPT a lot for coding. So I was just working on a coding problem here and feeding ChatGPT and it will think. It's interesting. It's a very long chain of thought thing, but yes, here. And it will describe this. And so it'll say how long it thought. So it'll think, and it will sometimes think for over a minute on some of these questions here. Let me think. Oh, I thought I had a longer one here. When I'm asking it to do some complicated thought, like here, it thought for a minute and 30 seconds while here. And you can click, yeah, you can click here and see, oops, I just have to click there once, and see the thought process that it goes through, what it proposes, what it is trying to do there. So it's really interesting now if you're using some of these modern AI systems, their thinking process for that. So, okay, coming back here. What about mobile stuff? How much time do you, like, if you're searching the internet, what do you use? How often do you use a keyboard? How often do you use your phone? And how often do you use voice there? I'm old school. I type on a keyboard, I would say 90% of the time, and then I use my phone 10% of the time. I'm starting to use voice more. So, yeah. You don't like the voice? You don't, do you have Siri on your phone?
I know.
You never use Siri. So, does anyone use voice a lot? What do you, yes.
I use it like I'll ask it to play a song for me.
Right.
I'll
Now is it Siri? Is it an Apple or is it
No, it's
something?
Google.
Google. Okay.
Probably should say her name,
Yes, right.
But yeah, I use her a lot, and I use like the Samsung version, which is Boosty.
Right.
And like I just use them to like create alarms, send a text message. And it's like most of the time to just like I don't know, like to help me a lot.
Yeah. How about the rest of you? Do you do a lot of switching on your phones? And are you typing? Are
I never use the voice.
you haven't, it has trouble with your accent? Yeah, interesting. So,
In Spanish, I use the voice.
but okay, yeah, I was gonna say, do you use it in your native language?
Yeah.
Right, so, yeah, I've been using, I don't know if you've done, see if I have, let's try Gemini here. No, through ChatGPT, I think it's a little better interface here. Okay, it's Friday and I want to do something fun in Duluth. What should I be doing around Duluth tonight?
So, you've got a few fun options. There's a potato lefse making class at First Lutheran Church around 6 p.m., which could be a tasty experience. If you're more into theatre, Zeitgeist Teatro Zucconi is showing God of Carnage at 7:30. And if live music is more your style, Fitger's Barrel Room has a performance by Klein starting at 7. So you got a nice variety to pick from.
Wow, that sounded human.
Yeah.
I don't really like that it sounds.
Right. Absolutely. So whether you feel like getting a little flowery and making some lefse, catching a play, or just chilling out with some live tunes, Duluth's got you covered tonight. Just pick what sounds the most fun and enjoy your Friday.
Is there any sports going on this weekend?
Sure thing. This weekend in Duluth, there's a Minnesota Monsters arena football game at the DECC on Saturday evening around 7 p.m. And on Sunday, the Duluth Curling Club's hosting a curling tournament. So if you're into sports, you've got some fun options to check out.
How about St. Scholastica? I'm a big fan of St. Scholastica. What sports are going on at St. Scholastica this weekend?
So over at St. Scholastica this weekend, there's quite a bit going on. On Saturday afternoon, the football team is playing Bethel at about 1 p.m. Later that day, the women's hockey team is on the ice against the College of St. Benedict around 4 p.m. And on Sunday evening, the men's hockey team is heading over to play UW Superior. So if you're a Saints fan, you've definitely got some games to catch.
It's the game is today.
Oh, see? So I find when it talks to you, it's even harder to catch it, because it sounds very confident there, and it's still wrong a fair amount of time. So yes, so yeah, that's why I was wondering how many people are using this sort of stuff. I don't use it much, but I found that especially when I'm doing road trips, I'll just turn it on and I'll have a long conversation with AI about something, especially when I'm traveling by myself, just to keep me awake. So, all right. Let's jump back, and we've rattled on enough about this. Okay, let's talk about the assignment here. So you have two options for the assignment. Option one is to refactor an app here. And what that means is refactor is to reorganize so that it does the same thing, but in a better, more organized fashion. And in our world, what that means is adding procedures and adding at least one procedure with a parameter to it. So you can look through your old apps and try to figure out what is an app here that would work. And so maybe it's a project you've worked on or something like that you want to look on and add a procedure with at least and have one procedure with a parameter that does something here. So you can certainly do that. We have seen some problems with students finding apps that actually are complicated enough so they could do this here. Your quiz app actually might be a good one to look at because it has some complicated functions here for this. So we have like this code that when we hit a random button that updates the screen. So again, you can maybe look at that here. It also, as a parameter, could take the index and change that or something like that. So you could look at code like this where you see repeated like this 3 blocks here of code or that's very similar or the exact same, and you could refactor that. So you're welcome to do that for this. The other thing is you can create your own quiz app for this. Anything what I would suggest you do with that is to so you can create it from scratch. That's fine. But I think it's easier to start with this quiz app. So you can go into our current quiz app here and you can just say, make a copy of this. Where's make a copy of it? Save project as. So I'm going to save the project as, and I'm going to say like assignment 5 quiz. Give it a new name and then redo it. So what you have to do then is update your questions, update the answers, and then the pictures. What you're going to want to do is just like we kind of did, we added a question here. We want to add some pictures. So you're going to have to go in here where we have the media and update the pictures. So you can go find some pictures, download them and put them in here for this. So if you want, we have links in here to our media folder for Anishinaabe. So again, we have pictures of birds and trees and stuff like that. So again, we did the sound, but you could do a quiz where you could quiz people on what is the name for this or that. And again, you could certainly do it in Anishinaabe, but you can also, I mean, we have the images here. So you can just use the images and do it in English if you want to. So again, you can find your own. I think it's more exciting maybe to find your own. But again, if you want to do it, but you don't want to search the internet for something fun, that'd be fine. But again, if you're interested in, current European soccer players and you want to quiz people on current European soccer players, you could certainly make a quiz for that. I would not, that would be fine. So, okay, so those are your two things. You can either make your own quiz or refactor a block. Questions on that? Okay, I'm going to wrap up today as far as talking stuff goes. I'll wander around if you need help with any of this.